Welcome to the Scuttlebutt Podcast. There are lots of drinks, there are no rules, and it is a lot of fun. Relax, you are amongst friends.
Awesome. Well, hello and welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Scuttlebutt VR. I am Theron, as always, with my co-host Hermes, and today we have a special guest, Heath from the E14 podcast. How you doing today, Heath?
Hey guys. Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you can move your hands too if you want.
It still throws me off that we're like in a virtual world doing a podcast.
Yeah, this is it's a new trend that's starting up. We've seen a couple others, and we're hoping to be the next big virtual reality podcast. I think it's cool. Like we were talking about, we did the little studio tour, but we've got a whole space set up here that somebody was kind enough to make public for us, and it's cool. We've got a good thing going. Excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. Oh man, I'm pumped, man. Question for y'all though.
You go for it.
Have y'all ever came to this studio? Have y'all came to the studio and actually somebody was using it?
So no, and the reason why is like I was talking about when we were roaming around before. I have the world set to private right now, so this is an invite-only area where, unless I tell somebody that they can come in, it's completely closed off, which is an option for any world. Okay. It's just typically a lot less fun, because most of us, I would say that Hermes and I especially, are here for the chaos.
Hell yeah.
Producing some of it, hopefully.
On that note, shout out to our lost third co-host, Morpheus, because he brings the chaos even in a private room. So,
yes, he does. I can imagine.
He does.
I can't wait for him to get back and he join this on this virtual podcast. I think that'd be a hoot.
It's fun. We did a couple episodes. I think our most popular episode, the Thanksgiving one, featured Morpheus. So definitely, if you haven't already, go check that out. Okay. It's a good time.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh yeah, no, you're gonna love it. But yeah, what we're here for today is we're just gonna kind of talk with you, Heath, about your experience in in life and then in virtual reality. So we've had you as a guest on the normal podcast before, but this is the first time talking to you in VR. So you want to give yourself a little intro for everybody who might not be familiar?
Definitely. I'm Heath. I'm one half of the E14 podcast that I co-host with my wife, Jamie. Yeah, so we talk about anything from military life to civilian life. And we don't just limit it to military life. We have a lot of civilians on too, and love doing it. It's great.
Awesome. That's love to hear. Yeah. Obviously, Hermes is military as well. So we definitely have some intersectionality in that respect.
Yes.
And always a good time talking with you, Heath. You just recently retired as well, isn't that right?
I did back in October. I'm no longer in the Navy. I'm a civilian.
You get paid yet? You get paid yet, Heath?
I did. I'm getting paid.
Getting paid.
Finally.
Paid. There you go.
That's good to hear.
So yes, I'm getting paid.
About it. Khaleesi wanted to bitch to you the other night when we recorded about the pay still being messed up, and she wanted to know if you were being paid yet. So good news, at least on one half of Memphis, something is moving at least. So that's good news.
Yeah, it took a lot of pain and calling and cussing, but it finally happened.
Right, exactly. You got had to yell at everybody and their mother, but
they don't care. I don't think it helped. It just if it helped, they got tired of hearing me bitch at them.
It made you feel better, though. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I still haven't got my back pay yet. But I got my regular pay. So,
baby steps. We're getting there.
So, as everyone listening could probably tell, Heath is not a sprightly young man anymore. You play a lot of video games, Heath?
Well, not really. I did. Now that we got the Oculus, I play a lot more. So I play a lot of after the fall, like we played together.
Definitely.
But I haven't played actual console games. Yeah, it is. It's good. I haven't played console games in a while.
Oculus. What's an example of like the last console game that you played? Like, what's a good one that you remember? Oh, okay, yeah, it's not too far back.
probably,
He's a PlayStation man. That's my man
Yeah.
right there. PlayStation
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I do. I play the
Sorry.
PlayStation. I can't remember the last games I played though.
But still, the
Been that long.
God of
PS4
War.
is not that far back. You know, I figured you were gonna say
No.
something like Atari.
What? God.
N64.
Can you do the middle finger on this thing? Can you do the middle finger?
I don't have the capabilities, but I try. Of course, Theron can do it.
Hey, you just got to get a well-equipped avatar, you know.
Yeah, right. And I have the. I thought you were going to say that Commodore. My last computer game was Commodore 64. Is that what you're going to say, you fucker?
Okay, see, there we go. That's the era I was expecting. Yeah. But so still
Hey,
coming
that was
from
a badass game. I love that shit.
PS4. Did you just say game? A Commodore 64 is a console. Never mind. I don't even have time for you. Yeah, it was like one of the back when home computers were like for typing things or playing games, and that was it.
Yes.
So even coming from PS4 though, VR has to be a pretty big jump. We talk about it all the time, but the immersion factor is just something else. Even though it's a pretty easy argument that these graphics are not anywhere near as good as even like a PS4 or one of the older Xboxes, but it just feels cooler. It feels more realistic.
When you turn your head behind you, you still see the game. That's something to be said.
Yeah, it's everywhere all the time, and that you can reach out and touch it, and it feel like you guys just high-fived a little while ago. Like just the sense of presence, is insane.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I would
definitely.
say, like after the fall, is a pretty graphics. I thought were pretty damn good on it.
They are pretty good. I'll send you a video where they compare like the PC VR version. It can get better, is what I'll say. But after the fall is extremely impressive, considering what the Quest hardware actually is. It's basically just a really nice smartphone strapped to your face, and so the fact that it can do graphics like that is really impressive.
Right. And as computing power gets better in smaller and smaller packages, like with the Apple integrated augmented reality set that we had talked about, and I saw you posting on the social media about, like as stuff like that continues to get more and more powerful and more companies get involved with it, you can easily see how much better it's going to be. Like you said, if the graphics are, this is the baseline right now, imagine what the peak is going to be,
Well, and that's if you just look,
insane.
like every year is exponential growth. And so like even last year or the year before wasn't anywhere near this good on a consumer like cheap level. And so I think it's only going to keep improving. They've pushed several updates to the headset already that have added like the Space Sense feature that we
Like
just turned on so you could see. And so they're taking things, they've added boost to the frame rate level, so everything looks smoother and nicer. So even with hardware that already exists, they're pushing it harder and harder. That is a great point that you've got right there, Hermes. We did completely skip the part where we talk about what are we drinking on today. Heath, you're the guest of honor. Did you bring any drinks with you?
Honest, I didn't. I brought a Diet Coke for right now.
Hey, that's okay.
It's pretty boring. It's pretty boring.
Get the carbonation in the stomach ready so that when he splashes alcohol on it, he's still okay.
There you go. Yeah, you got to get the alkaline levels up first.
Exactly. What you got?
This man living in the year 3022.
Yeah. I have a Rogue. I can't remember what the damn name of it is. It's the strawberry one. It's like I want to say it's Jamaica something or Jamaica something like that.
Oh,
music
I know
like
the
that
one
on
that
it.
you're talking about. I'll pop it up on screen. I know the one that you're talking
it's
about though. It's delicious. Yeah. Now I'm jealous. All I have is a twisted tea here somewhere, wherever I put it. There it is.
Insert twisted tea. Yeah, this one.
They don't sponsor us yet.
Yet, I have to respectfully disagree with Nick from Miles Mountains and Brews and Dwayne when they were saying that this is too sweet. It is not that sweet. And coming from a guy who enjoys his whiskey neat, this is not too sweet. This is the perfect balance. Rogue absolutely nailed it. I can't even imagine that. I can't believe that they said it's too sweet. It's so good.
Hermes, I heard that episode. It was a good episode. And I remember you were drinking that during that episode. But me and Jamie went to dinner last weekend, and they had this mango beer. And I tried it because, I thought it might have been too sweet. But, they do a good job these days on keeping it beer. Even with fruit, it's still beer.
Yeah.
They have a nice balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You just have to be, I guess you just have to, like anything else, have to be good enough at it to not make shitty shit.
Yep. Or make your beer into a cider. You don't want that.
See, I'll buy a cider straight up. Yeah, exactly. Right. If you want a cider, get a cider. Have either of you guys tried a manganata? The drink.
No.
It's basically like the best way I would describe it is like a mango margarita.
Okay.
Oh wow.
It's like this awesome, amazing mango puree with tequila in it, and then they put like chamoy. The whole thing's rimmed with tahini, which is so much fucking better than salt. I found out. Like,
yeah.
If you see it on a menu at a Mexican place, just order it. You will not regret it.
What's it called again, Aaron?
A manganata.
Manganata. Sound pretty good.
And yeah, like I said, it'll usually be right in the margaritas area because they're pretty similar drinks. I'm sure some of our viewers are screaming at me in the comments right now that they're not similar at all, but that's okay. If I'm wrong, let me know.
They're similar enough to the average white guy who's just drinking his margarita at the.
That's true. Look at me. I'm wearing a chest bag. Okay, do I look like I know a lot about Mexican food? Hey, it's a satchel.
You weren't immersed. Joey Behar wears one.
Indiana Jones wears one.
Yeah, sure.
This is where I keep my money and drugs. We tried to offer a kid free drugs last night in VR, and he wasn't even interested. Children these days,
Yeah. I know.
Children.
God, that was something. What did you think?
Hermes was telling him to fuck off. Hermes was telling him to get fucked when he saw kids.
I'm like, block. I don't fuck around.
No, like every room might as well be a private room for Hermes because he just disappears anyone who he doesn't want to deal with.
I see. So this is a good segue. What are your thoughts on that, Heath? About children in VR and like now that you've immersed yourself in VR and you're just getting a taste, like I have when Theron was getting me into it. You've been in VR less than 20 times, right?
Yeah, that's my first time to really get in VRchat and do all the worlds was last night. So I played video games, but this is different.
Right. That's exactly the point. Is like you're new to it, but you immediately, as soon as you get in, you are pretty quickly getting it. What are your thoughts on kids maybe getting I don't know how much video games your kids play, but when I was a kid, console gaming, especially when in my heyday, middle school time frame, I was on that shit hours and hours and hours. What's your thought about that?
Dude, like we went to like the virtual strip joints last night and all that. I think of my kids. I don't want my 11-year-old in something like that.
And I was actually about to ask because when you got your headset, you got one for your kid too. And so you kind of have more perspective than either of us because we've talked a lot about like, what we think is appropriate or inappropriate, but we don't actually have kids. Right. So who are we to say?
I think it's inappropriate personally, especially some of the stuff going on in there. I mean, like I don't know. Can I talk about anything right here?
Oh yeah.
Anything and everything.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Like, Theron, after you left last night, Hermes, me and Theron were in there, and one guy came up and said, "Yeah, there was an orgy in here last night. You remember that?"
Yeah, I remember. I'll clip it in. I was recording. What the fuck happened last night? Like a literal fuck fest?
Literal fuck fest. Quite literal.
And I want to be somewhat responsible as a parent.
Yeah, there's some weird shit in here.
I was like, what the fuck?
What do we do? What's to be done then about that? Is it because they have like age button restrictions where it says, "Hey, you must be this age to get in."
Yeah, like we went to the one club and you had to click the window before.
But
And
I mean, just
yeah,
like when we
but-
were growing up on the internet with merging out of the 90s into the internet age, the same
Right.
thing. It was like, are you 18? Are you not? And
Yeah.
every
Of
middle
course
school kid
I'm
was like,
18.
Fuck yes, I am.
Yeah, of course.
I was born in 1902.
It's kind of like when you watch a movie. It says this is rated R. You must be 17 years old or whatever.
Right.
Dude. Yeah. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it off right now because I'm only 16 or 15 or 14. No, I'm gonna watch it because I think it's gonna be good.
right now I know it's going to be
So is
good.
that
Yeah.
then- well, and is that? But as a parent, obviously, you know that you were a kid once. You know that was
Yeah,
the
definitely.
reality of media in your day and age growing up. Is that something that obviously, like you said, goes into the responsibility of thinking about your kids being in VR or having a VR set at least now?
I think the onus is more on the parent than on the the game or the provider of the service. I think it's hard for them to block it. So it's on me. I talk to my kid. How much do you go into VR? Because I don't like VRchat. I play my games. I'm like, yeah, keep it that way.
Yeah, good.
So,
Good.
as long as you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't put all the responsibility off the parent. The parent's ultimately responsible, in my opinion.
Well, and it does go
No,
beyond
that's a great example.
VR too. Like if you look at like Roblox and shit, I know tons of kids that play that, and there's all
Yeah.
kinds of weird. Like it's basically the same environment as far as the weirdos that you're interacting with, along with a ton of irrational children. What I thought was funny is when we went to that, we went to the bar last night, and then 2 seconds later there was a fleet of like 10-year-olds working
Oh,
the
it's
entire
terrible.
bar and restaurant. Like
Yeah,
nobody
yeah,
asked
who said
them
that?
to. Like, oh, they were terrible. They were 10. They don't know how to work a bar. Like,
Oh man! And
So-
then I
For
thought
like
I did- go ahead.
exposure to things, right?
Yeah,
no, I was
right.
just say
And
like
I thought-
early exposure to things, right?
Exactly. And I went. Oh my god! Did y'all hear that?
yeah.
My dog.
It actually terrified me for a second.
So,
I was like, what in the fuck? Thought I was about to die. I
And
just
tell you
sat
what's
here and
annoying,
accepted
we
it.
We walked in that Kmart, and walked in that Kmart. I'm sorry, that dog was driving me crazy. Walked in that Kmart, and there was just tons of chatter. That kind of drove me a little crazy. I know. I see why you block them out.
Immediately.
Caleb, I'm doing something, man. Yeah. So.
I'm on the phone, Mom.
It's an online
So-
game. I can't just pause.
They don't understand that this is a podcast we're doing, because it's so new.
Well, and it looks like
Right,
video
'cause it-
games, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
crazy to think though too that like as a nice little point there is it is crazy that this is the technology and we're like right here in the beginning stages. Aaron and I have touched on that point a lot. Like here we are at the ground level of potentially the next evolution of at least one portion of entertainment. Podcasts when they first went online, my thoughts were like, oh, radio on the internet, like what the fuck? Who the hell's gonna listen to that?
Yeah.
And then
Right, the radio's
seeing it
already
explode,
dead.
and then you see,
Yeah.
and then but then you see, and now you see what it is today, and then same thing with VR and crossover media like podcasts, for example, right? I'm sure a lot of people who have heard our podcast are like, oh, now they're gonna go in VR as well. Like that's dumb. Isn't that for games only? And it's like, that's one narrow view to think about it, but it is pretty cool to assume and probably most correctly assume how far this is going to go with crossover media like this. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. But I tell you, think about it. Like, you remember when internet shopping? I don't know if you remember that far back. I do. Oh, that's not going anywhere. Now look at Amazon. Everything. Everything was, oh, this is stupid. This, internet's for playing games or internet's for this or that. It's not even for shopping, but now that's
It's for rapists,
I don't go to the
right?
store.
And murderers. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that too.
It's-
You're right. No.
It's exclusively creepy people. That's what my parents taught me.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting,
Weirdos.
talking about shopping, and we were in the Kmart. I don't know if you guys have seen that Walmart video that's been doing the rounds about how, like, shopping in the metaverse. It's not even so much terrifying as it looks tedious. Like, it literally is walking
Does
around
it?
a store, throwing things in a cart. Like, why don't I just go to the store? And then the whole time they have this like hologram bitch who's just reminding me that I should go to electronics and buy a new TV. Like, what? I don't need someone to tell me that I should buy a different brand of a thing I have in my hand. I know what I want. And then the whole thing, by the time it was over, I was just confused because they made several references to like how their tires were finished in the auto shop, and like they could go pick up their car and then the groceries would be in the car. But if they're at home and their cars, are they just standing in the Walmart parking lot with VR headsets on like assholes? Like, what?
Oh, no shit.
No, their cars
like that. Like, how
autonomous, man? It's a
how are they
car.
supposed to
It's
get
a
like?
self-driving car.
Okay, well then why didn't I just load up the groceries like normal and then put it like? They said something about curbside pickup, so they still expect you to be at the store. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
That's true, yeah.
In addition to being creepy and dystopian, they don't even know what they're trying to sell you, and that's my biggest issue.
Leave it to Walmart.
Freaking Walmart.
They just know they have it. That's the thing. They just know they have it, and when you need it, it'll be there, you know?
Well, the crazy thing is...
that's probably what their idea
is that it's a tech demo from, like, 3 years ago. It's not new at all. Like, it's just now making the rounds with everybody talking about the metaverse and stuff. But this is, like, clearly Walmart's been working on it for years now, so I'm not going to be surprised when that's, you know, the future.
It's gonna be there's gonna be like an addition. I can envision it. This is why it scares the shit out of me, is I can see the in-between period, and I know exactly where I'm gonna fall on that fence in the in-between period. So I see the in-between period where all the Walmarts or all the Targets or whatever start rolling out these assisted shelves, right? Where there's just like, you know, a not like a conveyor belt, but you know, you seen those like cool vending machines where it's got the little arm that goes up?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Grabs
Yep.
the bottle, brings it down so it doesn't shake it all up. I imagine that with all of these shelves at Target, and at first it's like, oh, look at that, that's cool. Somebody is at home shopping for this. There's a little, you know, remote control cart that this stuff is getting piled into. Cool, great. Then I see the scary part of it where it's like, that's the only thing that they have the shelves for anymore. Now there's just a giant like warehouse, like a Costco style warehouse, and everything is locked up behind cages and stuff because it's like, oh, it's going to improve safety, you know, these things aren't falling down on people anymore, and nobody can steal from us and whatnot, and unless your cart comes up and has the funds already ready to go and yada yada. Like, I can see so many excuses for more and more, like, you know, control being set up.
Sure, tight control.
Anybody who's not invested in the metaverse, like, say that I still like just going to the store, even though I know the option's there, the option is going to get less and less available to anybody else. Like, they're going to force you into the metaverse regardless of whether or not you want it, you know? And with Walmart and necessities being, you know, piled into this whole metaverse thing, like real estate we were talking about, like, you know, and then Walmart, and then more and more shit gets pushed into there because it's a great idea. On paper, that sounds nice, but again, I don't like this lessening, or at least the potential for lessening options, you know, because I like options.
I hear you. I think it's going to be gradual. I don't think it's going to be like overnight that's going to happen. And I think a result of it is it will open up a cottage industry for small businesses to say, like, we still do that, you know? So it will entice people who feel that way to still go to the mom and pop shop because that's how they do it. Bullshit. But eventually
Bullshit.
Because you feel strongly, but most people don't feel that strongly.
How many stores have been put out of business from these large corporations, especially during COVID? Those mom and pop stores don't have.
I agree with you, but that's because they don't
fucking survive.
Exactly, because they don't have any appeal. They don't offer anything that a big box store doesn't. But if a big box store only lets you shop one way, I'm just saying it opens up avenues for them to have a new appeal.
Theoretically on paper, but that's what I'm saying why it's scary is as you push so many things in one direction, it doesn't leave that option anymore. Theoretically the option exists, but if that's not a viable option, it won't exist, you know?
Well, if it doesn't exist because it's not viable, capitalism, right?
Scares the shit out of me, man. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's going to be in between. I think before that happens, we're going to see the opposite. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day about how you can already work in the metaverse and get paid real money for doing things essentially in a video game. Yeah, there's a whole new. Yeah. We've all heard of pay to win video games, where like you essentially have to pay money to get the things you need to progress a level. Well, there's a whole new category that are play to earn, where you play and do whatever, and it gives you like some sliver of some cryptocurrency that nobody's ever heard of before. And you could pile up enough of them and cash it out right now, or it's crypto. You can play the long game and hope that it becomes worth more. But, you know, on top of that, I'm sure there are probably just straight up people PayPaling money. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you use it in the games to buy more stuff. And so I think we're going to see a lot of like robot cashiers and stuff. You know, the employees are going to be replaced first, but they're still going to exist. They're just going to be at home with a VR headset working a fucking robot that grabs cigarettes for people or whatever. Like,
well, think about this. Walmart's already doing that. How many cashiers you see at Walmart? Everything's self-checkout. You might have 1 or 2 lines open.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my paycheck from Walmart. Been a fucking cashier for years there, apparently.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
They're already starting that shit.
Yeah. But does that scare you at all, Heath?
Yeah, I mean, I try to think about it. I know. I try to think about it. Those thoughts get in my head, and I get all spun up. I need to take an extra dose of Prozac because that shit is scary. Because they're getting less and less need for humans.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, in the like the longest term dystopian future, that is one. I mean, every
we're all just pod people,
deep,
right?
Dark down. Yeah, I mean, deep dark.
I mean, it takes it takes the humans to make the machines or the robots and everything to do the work now, but that's a lot less than the workforce.
Mm-hmm. And it's only going to last. I mean, we all agree it's only going to last so long where the humans will still be making the robots. Once we get good enough at robots making robots, I guarantee you we're going to fucking flip that switch and robots are going to be making robots. It will happen.
True.
I know there's somebody out there who's going to be an asshole in the comment section who's like, oh, they already do that. Robots make everything. Yeah, fuck you, dude.
Great, then you get what I mean. Yeah.
Right. There's some people that would say that's just too far-fetched, but I thought all this was too far-fetched 20 years ago.
Right? This whole thing seems pretty far-fetched, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
We are in 3 different parts of the United States sitting in a studio doing a podcast together.
We're on... I think every coast is being represented right now.
That's true.
East, West, and Gulf Coast. So,
but here, like you said, like we're almost can touch each other. Once we get the haptic feedback suits, we could probably interact and shake hands and high five and shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fucking insane.
That's a fun little thing to talk about. Did you guys see they just did like what fucking show was it? I don't remember. Something in Vegas. They just debuted a bunch of new electronic shit, and one of them were like haptic shirts. It was like one of those like Under Armour like flexible shirts that is full of electrodes. Mm-hmm. And like typically haptics have used vibration motors up till this point, but with the electrodes you could simulate everything from like a slight touch to a tickle to like actual pain. One of their demos was they're like, yeah, you put it on and then you could feel what it's like to get stabbed. And you can feel the knife go in further, and then they're twisting it.
No,
like,
fuck that.
Fuck me.
Don't want that.
And then
they can have that shit.
There's another one that's called the Tesla suit that I don't think is made by Tesla. I think it just has the same name. But it does all of that with electrodes, plus full motion capture and biometric tracking.
Son of a bitch. It's here, man.
It costs like 20 grand though. Like it's almost exclusively used
fucking here. Right now.
Yeah.
Dude, that's gonna be as much as a VR headset in 20 years, 30 years maybe.
Well, that first shirt that I mentioned is $400, I think. So much more reasonable.
I'd say 10 years. I'd say at the longest 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first one's called the OO Touch, I think.
Fuck, man. Wow. Fuck me.
But yeah, it's gonna get crazy.
It's here. Like I said, when did the technology for this headset that we're wearing right now, when did it first debut at one of these shows, 2010?
Yeah, I'd say 10 or 12. Just off the top of my head.
10 or 12. So in a 10-year period, it went from that to customer ready and using right now. Boom.
Yeah, and
That-
like
'cause I
we
remember
said.
the first time I saw one.
Oh, go ahead, Heath.
The first time I saw one was when. Oh, thanks. It was when during a Scuttlebutt podcast, I was watching it online, and on Facebook, and I saw Theron with a damn VR headset on. That's the first time I saw one. That was like mid last year.
Yeah, that was probably right
Maybe
when
a
I
little,
first got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
First time
Yeah.
he ever saw one to now being in VRchat. 1 year.
Yeah.
And that's with the
Probably
same
best,
hardware.
actually.
Like for you, there was not even any iteration involved. That was the same headset
Yeah.
that we're using right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude. And oh my god. And then they'll just have like one little port. Imagine like this headset we're wearing just has like a little port that's added to it. And it's like, oh, and that one connects to the back of your neck that hits your whole bodysuit that you're wearing, and boom, you are now in the metaverse.
Now my question
Fuck
is,
me.
is when they come up and upgrades this Oculus, like you talked about, like this is like it's still growing. So we
absolutely.
updates with it.
Yeah, so there
Without
is a
buying a new one.
rumored new headset coming out from Facebook. It's not even rumored; they've talked about it. It's just not fully revealed. That's being referred to as Project Cambria, and one of the main things that it has is built-in standalone full body tracking. So right now we can move our head and we can move our arms, but if you kick your feet around, nothing really happens. The new headset will be
Right,
able to track
right.
all of that,
Wow.
completely
But you'll
by
have to buy a
itself.
new headset.
That's true, yeah.
You won't be able to upgrade what you got.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same thing as like cell phone upgrade cycles. I think it'll
Yeah,
get to the point
yeah,
where
yeah.
every 2 or 4 years you're gonna want a new one. Especially since they're not made like PCs where you can modularly upgrade the parts very easily.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And everybody
yeah,
does that now with their cell phones. So do you think that this is
Exactly.
going to be more valuable than a cell phone to people? At some
I
point?
absolutely personally think that VR headsets are the next smartphone boom. Obviously, Facebook thinks so. That's why they changed their name to Meta. They
and
want to
invest
be on the
billions
ground
into it.
floor. That's why we're doing this podcast, is because we want to get in on the ground floor. Like, we feel that strongly about it.
Yeah, and it's true. Like once you're in it and you see it, like I can't disagree with it. It can be scary to me, certain parts of it, but just like anything else, I mean, I'm not going to ignore the signs of, I'm not going to ignore reality. Like, it is what it is. It's happening, whether I like it or not. So hopefully I can voice some of that opinion, but that's it.
Yeah. It's really cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking behind me and I see Theron's, the camera on Theron. that is fucking cool, dude. It's so interactive.
Yeah, it's a real
And
camera for all intents and purposes.
Let me. I coughed a minute ago, and I made sure I put my hand over my mouth because I didn't want to cough on Hermes because I sit next
There's
to
a
him.
mute button,
I know, but no, it's just that's how real it is.
Right,
It's like
you
I'm trying to bring
feel
my mouth,
that.
Yeah.
that like we're sitting next to each other. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Oh, man. It is
Well,
wild.
guys,
It is
I
wild.
think this has been
nuts.
a fantastic episode. We covered a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, and I think more than anything, from what we're hearing from you is that you're liking VR so far, even though
That's
it was
cool.
a thing that was completely foreign to you a year ago.
Yes. I know what the hell that was you on your head a year ago when I saw you wearing that thing in that podcast.
Some kind of weird ski goggles.
I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Is that your new snowboarding gear?
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's the best review that you could ask for, to go from literally having no idea what you're even looking at to now being inside of it, doing a podcast with us, loving every second of it.
I was just gonna say our guest of honor mostly and still predominantly exists in the audio format for his podcast. Does our guest of honor have his plugs?
I do. So E14 Podcast. You can find us on anywhere you find your podcast. We're on at E14 Podcast for Instagram, at E14 for a podcast for Twitter, and E-14 Podcast on Facebook.
Beautiful.
I like it.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us, Heath. We appreciate you taking the time to come in to the fantastic virtual studio. For everyone who's watched all the way till the end, We love you. We appreciate you. We are Scuttlebutt VR. If you could, give us a like, subscribe, a comment would be super helpful if you've got the time. I know you hear it all the time. I hate saying it as much as you hate listening to it, but we love you guys. We'll see you next time.